And a monk embarked on a long trek through the endless prairies of the north. They had a fierce debate about God and chance and fate, and to resolve it agreed a game of cards indeed be played. The game went on all day, and through the next and next they played, and around them a shelter was built to shield the rain. A street around the shelter formed, then a church, a house, a bar, and that is how the city of New Albion was born. That is how the city of New Albion was born. New Albion today, with bustling streets, machines, cafes, and the nice, the wise, the eccentric and insane. The mafia's run by a red-haired dwarf with just one eye, whose affairs he decides with a pair of silver dice. Over the Zeppelin Union pilot circus Strati boss presides, and we hear his song each afternoon as he flies by. There's prisons made of lead and gargoyles of iron shreds, and Annabelle McAllister who's raising up the dead. Annabelle McAllister who's raising up the dead. Street is where the Alchemist Guild meets, and to join you have to craft a glass pearl from a young girl's dream. A group of thieves they heard broke in the lodge to steal their pearls, but in the morning they were found there sitting staring unperturbed. The twilight fog, they say, an aphrodisiac contains nonsense, but yet they copulate in doorways anyway. There's inventors and inbred in upper classes, it's been said, and Annabelle McAllister who's raising up the dead. Annabelle McAllister who's raising up the dead. Clever little Annabella with her clever head. Oh, Annabelle McAllister who's raising up the dead. Annabelle married at last, and she had a son she named Edgar, but alas, she died when he was 10. His heart was broken, but since then he's grown and found his darling Faye, with whom he wants to wed. The red-haired dwarf, he had a son. When the son turned 31, he stabbed his father, so new mob boss he'd become. As his father slowly died, he told his son with tear-stained eyes he was the proudest that he'd been in his entire life. A cat burglars around, who is the toast of the whole town. His is the most daring heist ever to abound. In reality, in fact, it's two 18-year-old girls, and their pet albatross Simon, and a brilliant mouse named Sam. In the botanist lodge they bred a plant who can think thoughts. It communicates by opening its petals on and off. But alas, one day it went into a deep meditative trance, searching for enlightenment, and has not made a move since then. A generation goes on by, and new faces, new places of New Albion arrive. The doll that Edgar brought back for Faye, well, sure enough, he's Jasper, the same one that Annabelle herself built up. Edgar and Faye had a son, a young man who's named Byron, and he's inherited the doll, his dear Jasper, that he loves. After years and years of folks bringing back their dead ones, droves of dolls fill the city in streets, slums, and homes. Full of dead, they don't walk or talk, instead they're like blank slates on which their friends and relatives project. The big subculture in these times is voodoo punk, and every night Byron and Amelia are immersed and acolytes. The redhead dwarf's son ran the mob for years and years, but then he was run out by two women and a brilliant mouse named Sam. The voodoo punks to mock the world, for city mayor run a doll. They show up at the rallies and attempt to rile the crowd. Meanwhile we come back to the fourth and final act. Byron got himself a trophy wife and had a daughter who he named Priscilla, and she came to age in a city that is now a police state. New Albion today is a harsh and martial place. The riots destroyed building, streets and thoroughways. The city took control through a state of martial law that remains to this day as troops of armored cops patrol.
And on this day of my enlistment, I shed my skin of will and innocence. I pledge allegiance and devotion. I'll be the power that you flex. I am your arm of execution. I trigger of your gun. I am the binding and the order. My duty to you has begun.
Random searches are the law, looking for remaining dolls, and if found, execution is immediate for all. Any token of the dead, whether relative or friend, is forbid, and if found, you may or may not be seen again. Jasper's still around, and he's with Priscilla now. They sit and hide together deep within the family house. They spend their days resigned from the brutal world outside, and play a never-ending game of cards to pass the time.
Welcome back, listeners, to tonight's broadcast. For close to 10 years, a civil war has raged across New Albion. It is only with the Battle of Criers Boulevard that at last a victor emerges. But how is this battle truly won and lost? Join me, your host Lloyd Allen, and the Dieselpunk Orchestra as we take a tour through our dear city, explore the events surrounding the Battle of Criers Boulevard, and meet tonight's featured family, the O'Briens, here on the New Albion Radio Hour.
I could name, which I'm sad to say became a quite uptight, oppressive, and obsessive police state. An ex-soldier one day vowed to bring the martial regime down by igniting revolution, but the question remained how. One night at 3:30, he quietly snuck beneath Parliament, the seat of power where government meets. In the water there that ran, a truth serum he did plant, and that is how New Albion's civil war began. Friends is here, and it's been going on for years. The undertakers and arms dealers all have crystal chandeliers. There's a union out for spies who can be bought for any side. Their boss, the cigarette girl, works the rumba club most nights in districts 3 and 4 and 1. There's a red-haired lad who runs the gangs of orphan feral youth who under his watch have become organized, disciplined, and for liquor, drugs, and contraband, the mob and postal service use them to deliver across the land. Need Districts 7, 8, and 3. Excreta dust to sandy rust, it's been discovered leads to quite a pleasing dreamy high. Thus it's the new drug on the rise, but only 3 albinos living underground know where it lies. A tinker we all know, with a shop on Tin Pan Row, makes little metal fairies whose souls a flake of snow. The government's last great big hope, the super soldier plan, you know, we'll be looking at more closely, friends, so stay tuned to the show. Though John O'Brien died on the Boulevard of Criers, he took the city forces with him to the other side. The rebels overran a defenseless parliament, but then turned on each other, so no government now stands on Criers Boulevard that day. There were some who walked away. After Constance sang, they dropped their guns, though why no one can say. They left the city yet, no one's quite sure where they went, but some say they hear bells ringing in the mountains to the west. Constance fought and fought until one day they changed the laws regarding women in the district where the upper classes flock. Then she and Thomas left, but no one's quite sure where they went. But they were last seen headed to the mountains in the west. Albion still stands, but it's broken, fractured, and its 8 districts function independently as best they can. There's checkpoints in between, they eye each other warily, but for the time, despite all of this tension, there's peace. The voodoo punks, my friends, are resurfacing again, though who can say if this is good or bad for New Albion? The city must unite, it cannot stand with such divide, but we leave discussion of this point for another time. So again we bid adieu to our players and to you. Same old channel, same old hour, be sure to next time tune. And now we say good day, the future's always on its way, and thus we end our passion play as it's played today. New Albion, a city brooding in the night like a couple who won't speak to each other after a fight. Only instead of a fight, it was a revolution. And instead of a couple, it's 8 districts operating almost independently and eyeing each other warily. Out of those 8, pick the one, the district, the street, the building, the pair of shoes you'd least like to be in right now. And that's where you'll find me.
The faded scene, the dead man's dream that are gone like a song down the river. The hymns they play, jaded, afraid of never, and so deliver me, Saint Priscilla. The right man's wrong, the loser's song that are gone like the prince of the killer. The sap you've seen, drop your dreams in the river, and so deliver me, Saint Priscilla.
Well, I heard a glass of bourbon calling all the way from Holbert's pub to the office, saying it's time to close up for the day. But before my fingers can flick the intercom to tell Gwendolyn to go on home, this decked-out dame in an all-business suit strolls in, looking like chilled top-shelf desire stirred over ice, and reeking of politics and ambition. The kind of ambition that lays stagnant and panting over at the mayor's office, where they struggle to get 8 districts that don't give a damn to pay them the kind of pittance of attention a toothless prostitute dreams a dapper young dandy will deign to spare on her as she gurgles slovenly in an alcoholic daze. Well, this dame's not the kind to take the time to congratulate or chastise me for that epic last sentence, so I don't take it personally when she gets right down to business.
Mr. Harlan, you're the man I've picked. I do so need a private dick. They say you can find a track, anything a girl might lack. My husband, he's gone round the bend. He's found religion, joined a sect. They're looking for this relic now, St. Priscilla's holy shroud. Strange as it might seem, there's those in office who agree a symbol crazy as it is could make New Albion whole again. Since the revolution's end, our city's split and cannot mend. Mr. Harlan, find it please. You can have a fee in me.
I've been hearing rumors about these voodoo poo, some weird underground religious thing that after the revolution has started slowly poking its head out again. Well, the whole thing smells nuttier than squirrel crap under an oak tree, but she flirts well and pays even better, so off I go to find this stupid shroud. Skip a boring chapter or two, and next I'm in the Iron District, squeezing down a hefty middle-aged metalomancer I go back with, who's recently found the light and joined the voodoo poo. Nick, we're just small time, our faith is struggling to survive. In order that we grow, we need some holy thing to show. A martyr would be great, or a relic or a saint. the shroud would go some way to cement and spread our faith. Next comes the part where me and the dame meet up again, and one of us lets the other seduce them, although it's a bit unclear which is which. The whole seduction takes place around the context of discussing how the mayor's office is hoping to cultivate and use a state-sponsored religion in order to establish a citywide identity and unity. But the discussion gets too hot to keep talking religion and politics, and thus a prudent fade out later, I'm walking home and I'm approached by a serene-looking gentleman who wastes no time in cutting to the chase. Mr. Harlot, please a word. I'm from the sect of which you've heard. There are some of us who vow that this relic not be found. The mysticism of our faith, just such an idol would profane. I beg that if you find it, please discreetly leave it, sir, with me. Skip some more boring chapters, although there's 2 pretty good fight scenes, the first of which I lose, but the second one I win, so yay for me. Anyway, we find out I'm a pretty smart detective after all, because for all this relic's sacredness dating back to some broad just before the revolution, I actually tracked down the guy who made it no more than 9 months ago, and he sings me a verse that sounds like this.
Mr. Harlot, don't you know we've got a business set to go? Voodoo boos have a lot of faith for relics which they'll gladly pay, and I and some fine gentlemen are all set up to cash it in. On shrouds and veils and bones, there's no end to the sea of cash that'll flow.
So there's that there plot twist. Then we skip ahead some more. Hey, if you didn't want to skip the slow chapters, you should have read the damn book yourself. Anyway, pin a medal on me, cause I found the damn shroud. And of course, right as I did, they all found me. And there were guns blazing and everybody shooting at everybody. And listen, when they say how when I jumped out the window with the relic I was in a state of sacrificial grace, protecting it at the cost of my own life and all, don't believe that crock. The truth is there was no way out of that crap storm but through the window, so through the window I went. I survived the fall, if you want to call this surviving. I'll never move or talk again, I just sit here like some dull-eyed doll. But the church takes care of me, oh they do. I'm their new poster boy, their living paraplegic martyr who sacrificed himself for their relic. Their next saint, Saint Harlot. They wheel me out on the weekends to a worshipful crowd and praise my name. They tell themselves as the religion grows, the city will heal. And you know, the funny thing is, as they worship, I do indeed pray. I pray something fierce. I pray to Saint Priscilla or whatever other callous sod can hear me to deliver me indeed. Deliver me from this damn city of fools and saints.
The faded scene, the dead man's dream that are gone like a song down the river. The hymns they play, shaded, afraid of never. And so deliver me, Saint Priscilla. The right man's wrong, the lover's song that are gone like the praise of the killer. The sap you've seen, drop your dreams in the river. And so deliver me, Saint Priscilla.
Sequence initiating. generation it has been since the Civil War ended and the city's in a golden age. Religion's back, my friends, the voodoo punks, well, they have spread, uniting our city once again. There's a tech boom bursting forth, led by the great Arcadia core, which the voodoo punks have built and own. Great new technologies it's led, like tablets with consciousness, but their true purpose only now unfolds. Project Elysium, my friends, is the VP's great vision, and its culmination soon to come. There's excitement in the air, expectation everywhere as they prepare to greet the Air-Chaton. The redhead lad realized the only way to end the fight between himself and the albino tribe over the sandy drugs dispensed was for him himself to wed, and so their princess, she became his bride. Here's to the days of bliss and rapture, the voodoo punks dancing in the streets. Here's to achievement and beliefs and the shiny new world they will greet, but their destiny will be. There's a city, it is said, that borders with the land of dead, and since you're here again, you best just stay. New Albion's its name, a sleek and large and lonely place, and a tale of it we tell today. 2 decades now it's been since a voodoo religion spread like flames and disappeared like smoke. Only a generation hence, oh, the tech boom was intense, but these days Arcadia Core is closed. Here's to the days of bliss and wishes, here's to the wild seeds once sown. Here's to the cults and waltz and whispers before they just left us all alone, left us hanging on our own. Housing projects lay half bare, bathed in lonely neon glare, chorals of cockroaches sing hymns all through. There's an oracle now who the middle classes all flock to, though it's a radiated pile of ooze. There's a superhero, though he's just a hologram, you know. 3 college students they project each night. The monorail line A has a ghost at night, they say, a pop star who has yet to break or die. Here's to the days that blazed so vivid when voodoo punk sang upon the street. Here's to the diodes and transistors that promised the future they would bring, but it's not all like it seems. But not so, a mouse named Kevin lives inside his skull. He's the one who drives the cab, tells bad jokes and who cops ask for advice on crimes too tough to solve. An albino redhead girl, well, she runs the underworld, controls a sandy drug, I know you know. It's a generation hence from oh so interesting events, but these days Arcadia core is closed. Here's to the days of songs and stories. There's one more I'd like you all to hear. It all begins now with our dear Rachel. Been in the asylum 2 long years. She had some fine days of bliss and wishes, but just like the cities they have flown. Please join me to lend her and attend her. She's been too long in there on her own, and that's longer than you know. So 30 souls from the beyond return to dear New Albion as a new computer species, but the voodoo punks, my friends, well, they never rise again. Their tale, I'm quite afraid, is done. Though I love you all, my dears, I'm afraid the time is here to depart the city we all love. There are other places more on this world to explore, and the time to see them now has come. Here's to the tales of ghosts and card games, civil wars, soldiers and soirees, talking mice, lines of red-haired gangsters, and dead things with which we play. So say our goodbyes to this dear city. Will we return here? Who's to say? We'll meet you next time across the ocean. The future, my friends, is on its way.
But it marches with a twitch or two onward through its days. Its streets go in the dark, hybrid things live in the park. A counterculture folks with cyborg alterations gone too far. The best flash mob that's around, who appears all over town. A group of a cappella cockroaches that sing for style crowds. Let's do holographic ads, who they say may have gone mad. Just like Bonnie and Clyde fell in love and gone bad. This is the time of lights and neon. This is the time of clock and death. This is the future come to dine tonight, like an unwanted guest. This is the time of springs and marbles. This is the time of cyber sex. This is the rave you won't remember. These are the days you won't forget. Rumors say that deep beneath the second city lives and breathes, where there live lewd out albinos and a dazzling redhead queen. But the tunnels have been searching, just the dark stone gate unearthed. Why you must ingest a drug and then walk through for it to work. The best hacker here for sure is known as Cheese for 34, and vile vicious people and the dark that he destroys. Criminals are his for time, have tried in vain to track him down, but his real life name is Nicholas, and he's just a mouse. This is the time of cyber wonder. This is the time you can't resist. This is the sweet online addiction that gives you that cyber artists and designers are all members, so they say the rituals provide a way to switch genders every day, and binary identity renounced in every way. There's a boy who's been kicked out from the college hereabouts for garish flesh enhancements and extreme mutating